Sometimes the most revealing moments happen when nobody is even trying to create one. 4 weeks now, viewers tuning in to Live with Kelly and Mark have been watching something unusual unfold. Not a scripted bit, not a planned segment, but a genuine, unscripted stretch of days where the chair beside Mark Consuelos kept changing hands. And somehow, in the middle of all that shuffling, something quietly beautiful started to show itself. Not about ratings. Not about scheduling. About what happens to a television partnership when one half of it simply isn't there. Because here's the thing people don't always say out loud. Live with Kelly and Mark has never really been about two hosts reading cue cards next to each other. It's been about a marriage playing out in real time, in front of millions of people, morning after morning. So when Kelly Ripa disappeared from that desk, it wasn't just a scheduling note. For a lot of longtime viewers, it felt like watching someone show up to a family dinner with an empty chair at the table. The reason, once Mark finally addressed it, turned out to be simple and very human. Ripa had undergone a gum graft procedure, and as Consuelos explained with his usual mix of affection and gentle teasing, recovery came with a strict list of rules. No talking, soft foods only, nothing pulled or tugged near her mouth while it healed. He even joked, in that warm, slightly protective way he tends to talk about her, that she's someone who famously doesn't flinch at pain, who skips the numbing shot at the dentist without blinking, and that this time, it was clearly bad enough to actually slow her down. And that detail alone says something, doesn't it? Longtime fans of this couple have always noticed how Mark talks about Kelly when she's not physically there to respond. There's no script for that kind of tenderness. You can't fake the specific worry in someone's voice when they're describing their spouse's healing process on live television, half joking to keep things light, but clearly also just missing her. So the chair started filling up. First it was Kevin Jonas, stepping in for consecutive mornings, trading jokes with Mark about pain tolerance and sneaking in a plug for his own upcoming film. Then Mila Kunis took a turn, talking easily about raising her kids in New York, with her husband Ashton Kutcher reportedly watching from the studio audience. A small detail that, for many viewers, added an unexpected layer of warmth to the whole week. Then came Pamela Adlon, back in the news for reprising a beloved animated role, bringing her own dry humor to the desk. Jane Krakowski had already had her own turn earlier in the year, filling in on a live Thursday broadcast, joking with Mark about how the guest chair felt exactly the same as it always had, just from a different side of the desk. It's easy to skim past a list like that and think of it as just a parade of famous names. But if you actually sit with it, something more interesting is happening underneath the surface. Each of these guest hosts in their own way has been stepping into an incredibly specific role, not just co-host, but the person sitting where Kelly usually sits. And every single one of them, whether they meant to or not, ends up highlighting exactly what makes Kelly irreplaceable in that seat. That's the quiet magic of watching a substitute host on a show like this. You don't actually learn much about the guest. You learn about the person who's missing. Every joke that doesn't quite land the same way, every pause that goes on a beat too long, every moment where Mark glances toward the empty space where his wife usually sits, it all becomes, almost accidentally, a tribute to a chemistry that took over 2 decades to build. Because that's really what people are responding to when they say they miss Kelly on these episodes. It's not that the fill-in hosts aren't talented. It's that chemistry like the one Kelly and Mark have isn't something you can borrow for a week. It's built out of thousands of small moments, inside jokes forged over years, the specific rhythm of finishing each other's sentences, the way one of them can raise an eyebrow and the other immediately knows exactly what it means. Guest hosts can be charming, can be funny, can even be genuinely great television. But they can't replicate 20-plus years of marriage compressed into a live morning broadcast. And maybe that's exactly why so many viewers keep watching even when Kelly isn't there. Not out of obligation but out of a kind of quiet loyalty to the story itself. The ongoing story of two people who met decades ago on the set of a soap opera, built a life together, raised 3 kids, weathered the particular chaos of being famous while also just trying to be a family, and somehow ended up hosting a national morning show side by side as a direct extension of that marriage. When one of them steps away, even briefly, audiences aren't just missing a host. They're missing a familiar presence in their own daily routine. The sense that somewhere out there, this couple is still doing the thing they've always done, still choosing each other, still showing up. There's something particularly moving too in how Mark handles these stretches alone at the desk. He doesn't disappear into hosting by committee mode. He keeps bringing her up. He keeps explaining with visible care exactly how she's doing, what the doctor said, how she's healing. Some viewers online wondered whether it says something deeper about their dynamic that he can't seem to help mentioning her, episode after episode, almost like he's narrating her recovery to an audience that has, over the years, become something like extended family to both of them. It almost feels less like a professional update and more like the instinct of someone who simply can't talk about his own day without including his wife in it, even when she's home resting and not watching. And maybe that's the deeper thing this whole stretch of guest hosts has accidentally revealed. This isn't a couple performing partnership for the cameras. The partnership is the actual thing. The show is just where people happen to be able to watch it happen. It's worth remembering, too, that this isn't the first time one of them has had to step away, and it likely won't be the last. Kelly has spoken candidly in the past about wondering when it might be time to eventually step back from the show altogether, telling Entertainment Weekly in an interview that she's always turning that question over in her mind. She's even asked mentors like Oprah Winfrey for guidance on knowing when the right moment to walk away might be, only to be told, gently but firmly, that it isn't time yet. Whether or not that's true, it says something about how seriously Kelly holds the responsibility of that seat. She's not chasing a permanent spotlight, she's weighing, honestly and out loud, whether she's still the right person to be sitting in it. Which makes these fill-in weeks land a little differently, doesn't it? Every guest host is a glimpse of what the show might eventually look like without her. And every single time, it seems to only deepen the audience's appreciation for what she brings when she's actually there. There's a possibility that these small absences, as inconvenient as they are for Kelly personally, end up doing something valuable for everyone watching. They remind people not to take the ordinary, everyday chemistry of a long marriage for granted, even when it's happening on a television screen instead of in someone's own living room. Because underneath all the guest appearances and the lighthearted banter about pain tolerance and soft foods, there's a much bigger story quietly playing out. It's a story about what it actually looks like when two people build a life together over decades. Not the highlight reel version, but the real one, full of small inconveniences, minor surgeries, quiet worry, inside jokes that only make sense to the two of them, and an unshakable habit of choosing to show up for each other, even when showing up simply means talking about someone on television because you miss them. Viewers have spent years watching Kelly and Mark bicker affectionately, tease each other mercilessly, occasionally embarrass their kids on national television, and somehow make all of it feel completely genuine. That authenticity doesn't disappear just because Kelly's chair is empty for a few mornings. If anything, it becomes more visible in her absence. You start to notice how often Mark brings her into the room even when she's not physically in it. You start to notice how each guest host, however wonderful, ends up serving as a mirror reflecting back just how rare that specific partnership really is. So when people ask who's filling in for Kelly Ripa this week, the honest answer might be that nobody really is. Kevin Jonas, Mila Kunis, Pamela Adlon, Jane Krakowski, they're all wonderful additions to a chair for a day or two, bringing their own warmth and humor to the desk. But the seat they're filling isn't just a hosting position. It's one half of a marriage that's been unfolding on daytime television for over 20 years. And that's not something you can fill in for. You can only wait for it to come back. Perhaps the reason so many people remain invested in Kelly and Mark isn't simply because they've spent decades in the spotlight together. It's because audiences continue to see something genuine in the way they navigate life side by side, even the ordinary, unglamorous parts, like a slow recovery from a small surgery and a husband who can't stop mentioning his wife on live television because he clearly misses having her there. And maybe that's why moments like this stay with viewers long after the cameras stop rolling for the day. Not because of who was sitting in the guest chair, but because of who wasn't, and how much that absence quietly said about everything they've built together. So here's a genuine question worth sitting with. What is it about Kelly and Mark's relationship that keeps pulling people back, episode after episode, year after year? Is it the humor? The honesty? The sense that you're watching a real marriage instead of a performance of one? Whatever it is, it's clearly resonating, because even when one of them is missing from the desk, audiences aren't tuning out. They're tuning in, waiting, and rooting for the moment she walks back through that studio door.